Children, I hope you have gone through my previous videos and done all the work that was assigned to you. Let us now proceed further. Children, today we are going to start a new chapter in organic chemistry, that is biomolecules. Biochemistry, it is a branch of chemistry which deals with chemical reactions occurring in the living organism. Now these chemical reactions which occur in living organisms, they involve chemical compounds which are called as biomolecules. Biomolecules, they are the building blocks of life and they are basically composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and phosphorus. So let's study about the biomolecules. First among them is carbohydrate. Now carbohydrates, they are basically produced in plants and they form large group of naturally occurring organic compounds. They are defined as optically active polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones or substances which hydrolyze to give polyhydroxyaldehydes and ketones. Now let us first study about the classification of carbohydrates. There are various ways in which they are classified. The first is on the basis of hydrolytic behavior of these compounds. So on that basis, they are of three types. First is monosaccharides. They are the simplest carbohydrates. They cannot be hydrolyzed into simpler carbohydrates and so they are called as monosaccharides. For example, glucose, fructose, ribose, etc. Second is oligosaccharides. These are the carbohydrates. Oligosaccharides are the carbohydrates that hydrolyze to yield 2 to 10 molecules of monosaccharide. So they can be further classified as disaccharides, trisaccharides. Di means 2, tri means 3, tetrasaccharide, etc. Depending upon how many monosaccharides are produced from hydrolysis. Example of oligosaccharides are sucrose, maltose, etc. Third category, it is called as polysaccharides. These are carbohydrates that give a large number of molecules of monosaccharides. Actually, these molecules, the number of molecules is more than 10. Then they will come under the category of polysaccharide because from 2 to 10 they are oligosaccharide. Okay, they are also called non-reducing sugars. Example of polysaccharides is starch, cellulose, etc. Now, this was on the basis of hydrolysis. On the basis of reducing behavior, carbohydrates, they are classified into two types. First is all the carbohydrates which reduce Fehling solution and Tollens reagent. They are called as reducing sugars. And all monosaccharides come in this category. Okay, this is because of the presence of alpha hydroxyaldehyde group. They have a CHO group present in glucose, mannose, etc. or a alpha hydroxy keto group which is present in fructose. Now carbohydrates which do not reduce Tollens reagent or Fehling solution, they are called as non-reducing sugars. Example is sucrose. So on the basis of their reducing behavior, whether they are reducing it or not reducing it, they are classified into reducing sugars and non-reducing sugars. So that is the second criteria for classification. Now if a monosaccharide contains an aldehyde group, CHO is the aldehyde group, then it is called as aldose. And if it contains a keto group, C double bond O, then it is called as ketose. Okay, so if there are 3 carbon atoms, so generally it will be called as triose. If in that there is an aldehyde group, so it will be called as aldotriose. If there is a keto group, it will be called as ketotriose. Similarly, if there are 4 carbon atoms, General term is tetrose. If it is an aldehyde, it will be called aldotetrose. If it has a keto group, it will be called as ketotetrose, and so on. Alright, now the first type of carbohydrate which we are studying is glucose. Formula is C6H12O6. Now let's see how it is prepared. First method of preparation is from cane sugar, which is also called as sucrose. Sucrose on hydrolysis gives you glucose and fructose. C12H22O11 is sucrose. This plus water gives you C6H12O6 plus C6H12O6, glucose and fructose. Okay, this is the first method of preparation. Second method of preparation of glucose is from starch. Formula of starch is C6H10O5 N. Alright, N molecules of C6H10O5 plus NH2O. They will give you NC6H12O6. This reaction takes place at 393 Kelvin temperature and the pressure is 2 to 3 atmosphere. So we get glucose. Okay. Now the structure of glucose for this year, because of the reduced syllabus, it has been removed from your syllabus, so you don't have to go into the detail or structure of glucose. Molecular formula you already know is C6H12O6. Now on reaction with hydrogen iodide, it gives N-hexane, normal hexane, on prolonged heating with HI. This goes to show that glucose has a straight chain of carbon atoms, CHO, CHOH, whole 4, CH2OH. This is how glucose is represented. Okay, so 1 and 4 carbon here and 1 carbon here. That makes it 6 carbons. In presence of red phosphorus and HI at 100 degrees Celsius, it gives you normal hexane, N-hexane, CH3, CH2 whole 4, CH3. So this is a straight chain structure. Alright, now second reaction is reaction with hydroxyl amine. So in water, one hydrogen has been replaced by NH2. Hydroxylamine is NH2OH. So it reacts with hydroxylamine to form oxime, and this shows that it has a C double bond O group present. So CHO, CHOH whole 4, CH2OH. This on reacting with NH2OH will give you CHNOH, CHOH whole 4, CH2OH. This is called glucose oxime. Alright. Now next is reaction with bromine water. Now glucose gets oxidized. See, this is an oxidation reaction. Glucose gets oxidized to form gluconic acid on reaction with bromine water. It decolorizes the red color of bromine water. So this shows that there is an aldehyde group present in glucose. Fructose does not show this reaction. So if you are asked to distinguish between glucose and fructose, this is one reaction through which you can show the difference between glucose and fructose. Glucose will decolorize the red color of bromine water. Fructose was not able to do it. So CHO, CHOH whole 4, CH2OH. Bromine water, in presence of bromine water, it gets converted to COOH, CHO group. Aldehyde group gets converted into carboxylic group. COOH, CHOH whole 4, CH2OH. So this is gluconic acid. So because there is an aldehyde group in glucose, it shows reaction with bromine water. But in case of fructose, there is a ketone group present, keto group present, so it does not decolorize bromine water. Next reaction is reaction with HNO3. Now on oxidation with concentrated nitric acid, glucose forms saccharic acid. So this shows that there is a OH group present in glucose. See, CHO, CHOH whole 4, CH2OH. In presence of concentrated HNO3, oxidation takes place. It gets converted to COOH, CHOH whole 4, COH. This is saccharic acid. Okay. Next we come to D and L designations of monosaccharide. See, the letter D and L before any name of compound indicates the relative configuration of that particular stereoisomer. So all compounds which are chemically correlated to plus isomer are said to have D configuration, whereas those which are correlated to minus isomer, they are said to have L configuration. Okay. So this is D plus glucose, in which H, OH and then OH, H. Okay. Now if you reverse, if OH comes here, H goes there, it will become L. Alright. So D is plus configuration. Next is fructose. Fructose also has the same structural formula, molecular formula C6H12O6. It is a ketohexose and it is obtained from hydrolysis of sucrose. You've studied that reaction. Sucrose on hydrolysis gives glucose plus fructose. Now the structure, it is a levorotatory compound, so it is D minus fructose. Okay, and it has, instead of CHO, it has C double bond O. So this is the structure of fructose: CH2OH, C double bond O, C OHH, HOH, HOH, CH2OH. Okay. Next is disaccharide. Example of disaccharide is cane sugar. Formula of cane sugar or sucrose is C12H22O11. It is obtained commercially from cane sugar or sugar beets. On hydrolysis, cane sugar or sucrose gives you equal amount of glucose and fructose. Okay, it's a mixture of glucose and D plus glucose and D minus fructose. The two monosaccharides, they are held together by glycoside linkage. Okay, through the oxygen, they are joined together. That is called as glycoside linkage. Now, next term is invert sugar, dextrorotatory sucrose. On hydrolysis gives dextrorotatory glucose and levorotatory fructose. Now the dextrorotation of glucose is plus 52.5 degree and it is less than the levorotation of fructose, which is minus 92.4 degree. So the mixture is in all levorotatory. Upon hydrolysis, sign of rotation changes from dextro to levo. Hence, product is known as invert sugar. Alright, so what is invert sugar? Invert sugar is the combination of this glucose, D plus glucose and D minus glucose, because it is giving you glucose which is less positive compared to fructose, which is more negative. So the overall mixture keeps changing from dextro to levo. Now next we come to polysaccharides. Polysaccharides mein you have starch. Their polysaccharides consist of large number of monosaccharides units which are joined together by glycoside linkage. The linkage is called as glycoside linkage. So you have starch. Starch is also called amylum. Formula is C6H10O5N. Now it occurs at microscopic granules in the roots, tubers and seeds of plants. It is dietary source. We eat. We use it as a food substance. It is polymer of alpha glucose and consists of amylose and amylopectin. Amylose is water soluble component and makes 15 to 20% of starch. It consists of 200 to 1000 alpha D glucose units held by glycosidic linkage, and it is a long unbranched chain. Water insoluble amylopectin has structure similar to that of amylose, except that in amylopectin the chains are branched, and amylopectin contributes to 80 to 85% of starch. Next polysaccharide is cellulose. Cellulose is a straight chain polysaccharide which is found only in plants. It is composed of only beta D glucose units which are joined by glycosidic linkage between first carbon and fourth carbon of the two glucose. First carbon of first glucose and fourth carbon of the second glucose. Next is glycogen. That is also an energy storage molecule and it is called as animal starch. It occurs in liver, muscles and brains, and it is broken down into glucose. It is found in yeast and fungi. So these are the polysaccharides. Next we come to importance of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, they act as storehouse of chemical energy for functioning of living organisms. They are essential components of nucleic acids and they form structural material for cells, and they are essential components of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Now next biomolecule is proteins. After carbohydrates we come to proteins. Now proteins are polymers of amino acids and their molar mass is ranging from up to more than 50 million. Now about 15% of human body weight is protein. So amino acids, they have an amino group, that is NH2, and a carboxyl group COOH. Only alpha amino acids are obtained on hydrolysis of protein. So this is an alpha amino acid, RCHNH2COOH, where R is the alkyl group, which is a side chain. Now if you look at classification of amino acids, depending upon the number of amino or carboxyl group in their molecule, amino acids are acidic, basic or neutral. Now in acidic there are more carboxyl groups than amino groups. In basic amino acids there are more amino groups than carboxyl group, and in neutral equal number of NH2 and COOH. Amino acids which can be synthesized in our body, they are called as non-essential amino acids. They are 10 in number. Total, there are 20 amino acids. So 10 out of 20 are not synthesized in our body and they must be supplied in the diet. So those which are not in our body, they are called as essential amino acids, because it is necessary that they should be present in our diet. And those which are synthesized in our body, we don't need them in our food because it's already being produced in our body, so they are non-essential. Now if you look at the structure of amino acid, it can exist as dipolar ion or zwitterion. See here, one electron from here can go to this point and this becomes negative and this becomes positive. So this is a Zwitter ion, that within the same molecule there is a negative pole and there is a positive pole. Like hydrogen from here has come to NH3. So this becomes COO minus and this becomes, instead of NH2 it becomes NH3 plus. So this is called as Zwitter ion, where both the poles are present in the same molecule. This it is also known as internal salt structure. Now in this form, amino acid shows amphoteric behavior. Amphoteric means both types of behavior. At a certain pH, dipolar ion does not migrate to any electrode, passing electric current through the solution. This is called isoelectric point of that amino acid. Every amino acid has a different isoelectric point. Okay. Now next is, so this can act both as a base as well as acid. Now next is peptide and proteins. Alpha amino acids, they are connected to each other by peptide bond or peptide linkage. Like see over here, glycine plus alanine. They are both amino acids. They get linked over here through a peptide linkage. Alright, and they form glycyl alanine. Okay, actually glycylalanine is combination of glycine and alanine. So this peptide linkage is dipeptide. It consists of two different molecules of peptides. Now when a large number of amino acids, that is more than 10 amino acids, are combined, products are called polypeptides. So polypeptide with more than 100 amino acid residues having molecular mass greater than 1000 microns, 10,000 microns, it is called as protein. Okay, next we come to classification of protein. So proteins, they are of two types, fibrous proteins and globular protein. So fibrous proteins, they consist of linear thread-like molecules which lie side by side to form fibers. They are held together at many points by hydrogen bond or disulfide bonds. The fibrous proteins are insoluble in water. Example, keratin in hair, skin, nails, wool, collagen in tendons, fibrin in silk, myosin in muscles, etc. Globular proteins, in the globular proteins, molecules are folded together into compact unit forming a spheroidal shape. So they are held together by hydrogen bonds and they are soluble in water or aqueous solution of acids, bases or salts. Example, albumin, insulin, etc. Okay, now the structure of proteins. Again, primary protein, secondary protein, tertiary protein, quaternary proteins. It has been removed from your syllabus for this year, so you don't have to go into the detail of the structure of proteins. Next we come to denaturation of proteins. Protein with a unique 3-dimension structure which is found in living system showing biological activity is called native protein. Now when this native protein is subjected to physical change like change in temperature, change in pH, etc., the hydrogen bonds get disturbed. So globules unfold and helix get uncoiled. Thus protein loses its biological activity. This is called denaturation of protein. Okay, during this the secondary and tertiary structures are destroyed but primary structures remain intact. Now for example, coagulation of egg while boiling or curdling. And when you boil an egg, it becomes solidified, or curdling of milk. Milk is liquid, it gets converted into solid. So these are the ways in which proteins are getting denatured. Next we have to study about enzymes. Enzymes are biological catalysts and catalyze the chemical reaction. Catalyst means they do not get used up in the reaction. All enzymes are globular proteins and they have specificity both for the reaction and the substrate. What is the meaning of this? That one enzyme will act only on a particular substrate and can act only on will be active only for a particular reaction. Same enzyme cannot be used for all reaction. The mechanism, how do they work? They act as catalyst by lowering the activation energy. They are needed only in small quantity. Depending upon the enzyme, the specificity shown for the substrate can vary widely. So from one enzyme to enzyme, it means that there can be a particular enzyme which can act on more than one substrate, or there can be an enzyme which will act only on one substrate. So it differs from enzyme to enzyme. So this is about enzymes. The remaining part of the chapter we will do in our next video.